Is NASA hiding the truth about a potential alien probe that visited our solar system? This isn't a sci-fi movie plot. It's a real-life scientific controversy. And at its center is Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb, who is demanding answers. The object in question? 3I Atlas, an interstellar visitor that behaved so strangely it left scientists scratching their heads. And according to Loeb, NASA has the high-resolution images that could solve the mystery, but they're keeping them under lock and key. Why? What could those images possibly show that NASA doesn't want us to see? Let's rewind to 2019. The Atlas Survey Telescope in Hawaii spots a faint object streaking through our solar system. Initially, it's labeled a comet and given the designation C2019Y4, but as astronomers watched, something just wasn't right. It was an interstellar object, the third one ever detected, meaning it came from outside our solar system. This earned it the new name 3I Atlas. But that was just the beginning of the weirdness. Comets, as we know, are dirty snowballs. As they get closer to the sun, the ice turns to gas, creating a glowing coma and a long, beautiful tail. They also get a slight push from this outgassing, a phenomenon called non-gravitational acceleration. 3I Atlas had this push, but here's the problem. It didn't have a visible tail. At least, not one that could explain the force of the push it was getting. This was the first major red flag. Where was the tail? If it wasn't a comet, what was propelling it? This is where things get really interesting. As 3I Atlas got closer to the sun, instead of just brightening and growing a tail like a normal comet, it started to break apart. In April 2020, the Hubble Space Telescope captured images of it, fragmenting into dozens of smaller pieces before completely disintegrating. The official explanation was that it was a fragile comet that couldn't handle the sun's heat and gravitational forces. Case closed, right? Not for everyone. Enter Avi Loeb. If you've followed astronomy news, you know Loeb is no stranger to controversial ideas. He famously argued that the first interstellar object, Oumuamua, was likely an alien artifact. He's the head of the Galileo Project, an initiative dedicated to the systematic scientific search for extraterrestrial technological signatures. When Loeb looked at the data for 3I Atlas, he saw parallels to Oumuamua and a pattern of unexplained anomalies. Loeb and his colleague, Amir Siraj, published a paper pointing out the bizarre behavior of 3I Atlas. The lack of a significant cometary tail, combined with its non-gravitational push, was a puzzle. Then it broke apart into multiple pieces near the sun. Loeb argues this isn't typical cometary behavior. He raises a provocative question. What if 3I Atlas wasn't a comet at all? What if it was something else? Something artificial? This leads us to the core of the controversy. According to Avi Loeb, there's a crucial piece of evidence that could settle this debate once and for all. He claims that a classified spy satellite, designed to detect missile launches, captured incredibly high-resolution images of 3I Atlas just before it disintegrated. Loeb has publicly stated that sources within the government have confirmed the existence of these images. He estimates their resolution could be 1,000 times better than what we got from astronomical telescopes like Hubble. At that resolution, you wouldn't just see a fuzzy blob. You could potentially make out the actual shape and structure of the object. You could see if it was a rocky, icy comet or something with a defined, manufactured shape. So, if these images exist, why haven't we seen them? This is the million-dollar question. NASA and the U.S. Space Command have remained silent. They haven't confirmed or denied the existence of these images. This silence is what's fueling the speculation. Loeb is publicly calling for the government to declassify and release the data. He argues that the scientific value of these images is immense and that the public has a right to know. Why would NASA or the U.S. government withhold such a monumental piece of data? The official, and most likely explanation, would be national security. The satellite that allegedly captured the images is a highly classified asset. Releasing its data, even a single frame, could reveal its capabilities, its resolution, its orbit, what it's capable of seeing. To intelligence agencies, protecting the source, the satellite itself, is more important than solving an astronomical mystery. Revealing how well we can see things from space is not something they take lightly. But there are other, more speculative theories. Could NASA be trying to prevent mass panic? It's a classic sci-fi trope, but is it plausible? If the images clearly showed an alien probe, the societal, religious, and political implications would be earth-shattering. Some argue that government agencies might opt for a slow, controlled disclosure of information rather than dropping a bombshell on the public. They might be trying to protect us from a truth they don't think we're ready for. Another possibility is what some call scientific conservatism. The bar for extraordinary claims is, and should be, extraordinarily high. The mainstream scientific community is cautious. The default explanation is always the natural one. Admitting that an object might be artificial without absolutely irrefutable proof could damage NASA's credibility. Perhaps they've reviewed the data, and it's inconclusive. Releasing ambiguous images could pour fuel on the fire of speculation without providing any real answers, creating a scientific and media circus that they'd rather avoid. But if that's the case, why not just say so? The silence is deafening. Avi Loeb's position is clear. This is about scientific transparency. He argues that science cannot advance while hiding in the shadows of national security. The search for extraterrestrial life is one of the most profound quests in human history. To have potential evidence locked away in a classified vault is, to him, an unacceptable obstacle to progress. He believes that a scientific committee with the necessary security clearances should be allowed to analyze the data. If it's a comet, fine, the analysis will prove it. But if it's something else, humanity deserves to know. Let's consider the object itself. What could it have been, if not a comet? Loeb has speculated about a few possibilities. It could have been an extremely thin technological object, like a light sail, pushed by solar radiation. Its thin structure would explain why it broke apart so easily near the sun. Or perhaps it was a mothership that released smaller probes as it passed through our solar system, which could explain the fragmentation. These are, of course, highly speculative ideas. Without the data, they remain just that, speculation. This entire situation puts science in a difficult position. On one hand, you have the rigorous, cautious approach of mainstream astronomy, which relies on peer-reviewed, publicly available data. On the other hand, you have a credible, tenured Harvard professor claiming that the most crucial data is being withheld, forcing him to speculate. It creates a divide between the established scientific process and a quest for truth that has to navigate the murky waters of government secrecy. So, where does that leave us? We're left with a tantalizing mystery. An interstellar object that behaved strangely, disintegrated without a clear explanation, and a top scientist claiming the key to the puzzle is locked in a government file. Is Avi Loeb a visionary pushing the boundaries of science, or is he jumping to extraordinary conclusions without sufficient evidence? Is NASA protecting national security, or are they hiding a truth that could change our world forever? The story of 3i Atlas is a perfect example of the friction between open scientific inquiry and classified government operations. Until those alleged images are released, or at least acknowledged, the debate will continue to rage. It forces us to ask, what else might be hidden in classified archives? And who gets to decide what humanity is ready to know? The truth, as they say, is out there. The question is whether it's in a telescope image or a locked government safe. What do you think? Is this a simple case of a weird comet and national security protocols, or is there more to the story? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. We'll be following this story closely. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoy exploring these kinds of mysteries, be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more content. See you next time.